Hello, Charles County. I'm Renisha Miles, formerly your Community Engagement Coordinator. I am now your Chief Equity Officer, and I wanted to give you a little bit of information about what the Chief Equity Officer is responsible for. So as your Chief Equity Officer, I hope to cultivate an environment that normalizes, organizes, and operationalizes diversity, equity, and inclusion throughout Charles County government. You might remember at the end of 2020, we had a DEI work group come together and draft a statement for Charles County government that would embody our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Our diversity, equity, and inclusion statement states, Charles County government is committed to cultivating a work culture that strives to be welcoming, inclusive, and equitable to all. We are accountable for treating everyone with dignity and respect. We embrace the power of diversity by creating opportunities for everyone to be included, heard, and valued in our community. As your Chief Equity Officer, I want to make sure that our diversity, equity, and inclusion statement is more than just words on a page. We want to put action behind the words and make sure that everyone recognizes the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion within Charles County government and our community. In order to do that, there'll be several things that I would like to put in place over time. I will do an assessment of our policies and procedures to make sure that they are all equitable. I will often do diagnostic and assessments so that we know exactly where we sit on our DEI spectrum. I will put together oversight groups and develop strategic alliances with our local partner agencies like the Charles County Sheriff's Office, the Charles County Board of Education, and CSM, just to name a few, to make sure that our whole community is a part of this DEI work that we're putting together. I will also make sure that within our workforce, we do training and education opportunities so that we can make sure that everyone who works for Charles County government knows exactly what it means to incorporate diversity, equity, and inclusion within their work so that we service our community as a whole better. Our community is ever changing, our demographics are always on the move, and we want to acknowledge that change and that diversity and make sure that we adjust with our community as needed. Within our workforce, we're going to make sure that we make strong DEI champions throughout our departments and divisions so that, again, that DEI message is spread across Charles County government so that we can strengthen our workforce and our interactions with the community as a whole. And if you work for Charles County government and you ever want to talk about DEI, please know that my door is always open and I welcome your suggestions and comments at any time. Remember that your voice matters and I am always here to listen.
Applying for jobs with Charles County government is now easier and more efficient. Visit www.charlescountymd.gov for more information.
My name is Beth Groth, and I'm a planner with the Planning Growth Management Department. And I want to talk a little bit today about the county's climate initiatives, what we're doing for climate change. And we're also going to talk a little bit about the Climate Leadership Academy. So before we get into the Climate Leadership Academy, we kind of need to talk about what climate change is. And we start with its patterns of weather over a long period of time. So when you get up in the morning and you turn on the TV and you're seeing what's on the weather, so you know if you have to grab an umbrella or a coat, that's what weather is, a day-to-day, what's happening outside your window. But climate, on the other hand, is looking at those average patterns of weather and over a very long period of time. And they're tied to regions and areas. So we have a local climate here, we're in a temperate climate, and that means that we see all 4 seasons of the year. And we experience a certain type of climate, whereas Texas is more dry and warm, and they experience a different type of climate. And so that you understand what climate is, when we talk about climate change is just essentially the change in the climate patterns. So climate change is impacting everywhere, basically, in the entire globe. And locally, in Charles County, it's impacting us as well. And ways that it's impacting us. In 2018, you probably remember how wet of a year it was. And in fact, it was the wettest year on record. And then 2019 followed up and had quite a few rainy days as well. So the impacts that we're seeing locally are an increase in extreme weather. So hurricanes are becoming much stronger and causing more damage, and we're seeing more of them as well. And then we're also seeing localized flooding in terms of urban and nuisance flooding. And nuisance flooding is a term that we use when we talk about tidal flooding. And it also is referred to as sunny day flooding. So you could see something flooding, but there's not actually any rain happening, and that's because the tidal influence, and we're just seeing higher levels of rainfall, and that's impacting areas and causing nuisance flooding. So another impact of climate change or global warming is the increase in global temperature. And why this is a concern is that locally we'll see an increase in the number of very warm or hot days. Typically we have several over a year over a summer that are very high, and we get extreme air quality warnings, and that number of days is supposed to increase over the next few years. And so a lot of people may be thinking, well, why does this matter to me? You know, I can stay inside and be in the air conditioning and not worry about it. The thing about global warming is that it doesn't impact everywhere the same. And so we're going to see definitely increasing heat, and other places could see increasing cold. But it also affects, again, precipitation in terms of whether we see more rain or more drought events. And we'll likely see both. Some years we'll see more drought, and some years we'll see more rain. With all of these issues with climate change, it's important to know that Charles County is being proactive, and we are taking steps now to prepare for the future. And several of the things that we're doing fall in kind of two buckets. We have the mitigation side and we have the adaptation side. And in terms of mitigation, what I mean by that is we're mitigating climate change. So we're trying to mitigate for the greenhouse gas emissions that are leaving our buildings because of the power usage and our cars and all of the things that are creating these greenhouse gases. We're trying to mitigate to reduce them. And so some projects that we're working on are some solar facilities that we're trying to create one is going to be on the Pisgah landfill. And so we're mitigating because solar is a renewable energy and it doesn't require fossil fuels to operate, and it provides power. And other projects, so we have several solar projects like that. And in terms of adaptation, this is what we consider resilience. And resilience means that we're able to bounce back from extreme events much more quickly. And that's very important because I'm sure many of you will remember the tornado that happened in 2002, and that took quite a while to recover from. And so if we can make things in our county, our transportation system, our energy system more resilient, our buildings more resilient to climate change, then we will be able to bounce back much more quickly from events that happen. So another thing that Charles County is doing is we are now trying to educate our workforce on climate change and ensure that they have the information necessary to do the work that we do at Charles County, but to consider climate change and make sure that we're making the best decisions in terms of long-term projects and efforts. And so the Maryland Climate Leadership Academy is one way that we have started to educate employees, and this is an effort through the state of Maryland and the Association of Climate Change Officers that put together this training, and several of the staff members here at Charles County Government have gone through the program. There's also a credentialing aspect where you can become what's called a climate change professional, and we have a couple of those in the county now as well. And this program has been great because it gives everybody sort of the background knowledge they need about climate change, and then gives them tools they need to apply and work within their work to figure out the best methods for mitigating and adapting to climate change.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Lowry, and I'm the Environmental Compliance Manager with Charles County Public Works in the Environmental Resources Division. In the Climate Leadership Academy, I learned the present issues, I learned about the regulatory issues that we're having, but also how it can directly impact my job. So for instance, the current precipitation or current anticipated precipitation totals for Maryland and specifically Charles County, and how it would impact us over at the landfill or our wastewater treatment plants, and how we'll have to plan ahead or plan forward for these changes and adaptations. I think how I'm going to apply my knowledge that I gained at the Climate Leadership Academy is having to look 5, 10, but even 50 years into the future as we keep expanding on our modeling knowledge about how much our climate is going to change, that is going to impact the decisions that we make today, because we're going to need to plan for 50 more inches of rain, a year or this or that we haven't had to do before. So I think largely it's going to impact how we plan our future projects.
I've been participating in cleanups for a few years now. It's fun, clearing the trash, getting a little exercise, and of course enjoying nature. I usually come back with just a few bags, and I know that's not much. But if we all contribute, we all come back with just a few bags, we combine our strength. It can make a huge difference. Come out to a cleanup near you and help maintain the beautiful community we all deserve.